Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're going to talk about XRP. And I got to start with this from XRP Ledger Adam. Indisputable XRP facts. 1. XRP has been used for remittances and cross-border payments for years and will continue to do so. In fact, Ripple is still putting rail after rail in place all around the world. 2. XRP is a lot more than just what Ripple is doing. See real-world assets, equity, asset tokenization, DeFi, NFTs, etc. Hundreds or even thousands of projects building on top of the XRP ledger are implementing XRP. 3. RLUSD is rapidly closing in on the $1 billion market cap and a top 100 token. It's actually number 98 right now. It will be a backbone of liquidity for DeFi on the XRP ledger. Stablecoins will eat banks alive if they don't adopt and implement current stablecoins dominating the market. 4. Publicly traded companies are buying XRP to hold on their balance sheets, and there are 15 XRP ETFs waiting for approval by the SEC. 5. XRP is the third highest market cap, L1, has one of the highest holder bases in all of crypto, and been the longest in the top 10 outside of Bitcoin. It's not going away. You know, even the Rippleverse SEC case, it didn't push XRP outside the top 10. That tells you the resilience of this cryptocurrency. It's not going anywhere but to the number one spot. It will eventually flip Bitcoin. The rise of RLUSD, lock in. Take a listen to this, but especially what he says about the EU, because this is what's coming to the United States.
I think we're still in very early days. So like everybody's trying to become that stablecoin issuer because it's so cool and hot. But I think there will be a flight to quality, and eventually there will be a small number of sort of the main stablecoin, like in every currency. I'm sure USDC will definitely be one of them in the dollar stablecoins. But there is a couple other, big issuers, that might become a competitor, whether it's Ripple, PayPal, and I think we're going to see the same thing in Europe. In Europe, we actually don't have that many Euro stablecoin issuers. It's pretty small, and if anything, like they're all like now disappearing, kind of one by one. So this is why we're taking it slowly and very carefully, because we actually do want to build that really high quality issuer where everything is sort of perfect from the setup to distribution. So yeah, I think we will see a flight to quality, and we will see this.
So he said it twice, flight to quality. And RLUSD is already compliant with MiCA. But take notice how he said there's fewer and fewer stablecoins in the EU. I think we're going to see a bottleneck on stablecoins once regulations are put in place in the United States. It's going to happen in other countries around the world as well. Eventually, we will see RLUSD become the number one stablecoin. And that guy will also be at Ripple Swell 2025. Amazon, Walmart, and the like have shown interest in creating their own stablecoins as alternative payment methods or reward points for customers. Bloomberg's Paul Davies says credit cards could be at risk. Here's the problem. You need to have stablecoins that are tied to buy now, pay later. Otherwise, people will not show that level of adoption like they've shown for credit cards. People get credit cards so they could shop with the card and then just pay the monthly bill. You're going to need the same thing in place for a stablecoin coming from Amazon or Walmart. I think that will definitely happen over time. But what stablecoins are doing is they're cutting the cost of credit cards. They're cutting out the middleman and they're making things cheaper. That's why the rise of stablecoins, it's going to coincide with mass adoption. And digital asset investor pointed out, I think Eric Trump just accidentally said the intentionally quiet part out loud. Words mean things. And guess what the number one asset is in all of the crypto space by far, by market cap, by notoriety. But then he says, not linked to payment rails. He's talking about Bitcoin. And it sounds a lot like what Brad Garlinghouse said. Take a listen.
Crypto just in general is growing faster than the internet was growing, back in, before the kind of .com. It's exploding all around the world and every single country is sprinting at it. And honestly, because we've had good leadership in this country, we're leading the way, but you better China's watching and they're sprinting. The Middle East, I mean, everybody in the Middle East is endeavoring. And guess what? The number one asset is in all of the crypto space by far, by market cap, by notoriety, by brand, and frankly, by function. And really the only one that really stands as digital gold and a true hard asset that's not kind of linked to payment rails, it's Bitcoin. And that's why.
Not linked to payment rails. Why? Why is Bitcoin not linked to payment rails? Take a listen to what Brad says here.
XRP and the performance of XRP compares with Bitcoin. Bitcoin today, as was said earlier, Bitcoin in many ways has been a successful experiment, but not when it comes to payments. The throughput of Bitcoin, both in terms of to confirm a transaction, often can take an hour. I think Tavis said earlier, you're not going to use Bitcoin to buy coffee unless you want to wait there an hour for it to confirm the transaction.
And that's why it's not tied to payment rails. But Eric Trump also talks about scarcity for Bitcoin all the time. But there's another asset out there that's even more scarce, but it has utility. QNT. QNT, there's only a little over 14 million QNT, and it's packed with utility. It's going to hold the entire new financial system together. But nobody's talking about it right now. And you know why? Because they have to keep the mainstream media going with that Bitcoin-only narrative. You know why they're doing that? Because they're all making money off of it. Whenever you see Bitcoin fall, it's always tied to the president talking about tariffs or some real-world event playing out somewhere in the world, because Bitcoin is not a good store of value. If some kind of conflict broke out right this second, Bitcoin's coming crashing down. That is not a store of value to me. And, QNT, I would honestly like to see what XRP looks like if it decouples or when it decouples from Bitcoin, because I think XRP is going to be a better store of value than Bitcoin. Take a listen to what Chris Larson says about store of value.
Just the notion that it's a store of value is a revolution enough, right? A lot of people are like, well, what is it used for? Like, okay, that's enough. Right, the notion of something that can transmit value, but not inflate in this world, that is a unique thing. So whenever people say, "Well, what's that currency thing? What's it good for?" It's like, are you kidding me? Just it's the fact that the world is valuing it. Anyway, we already know that these things are fundamentally valuable.
And most of these cryptocurrencies that have utility and use case, they're going to emerge as a better store of value than Bitcoin, because you could actually utilize them to fix real world problems at the same time. I'm telling you, when XRP decouples from Bitcoin, it's not going to crash down the way Bitcoin does. It's going to hold up a lot better. Same thing with XLM. Same thing with XDC, because it's going to be consistent value. HBAR, you could say the same thing. IOTA, Algo, QNT. Think about machines paying machines in the future, right? If all these machines are making transactions all throughout the day, how are these cryptocurrencies going to be crashing out, every time something happens in the world? They're not. because they're going to be held up by usage and demand. DNA protocol is also expanding. DNA protocol brings zero-knowledge privacy to the XRP ledger. Genomic data is compressed into ZK commitments, verified through SNARK nodes, and routed via XRP ledger trust line plus hook circuits, achieving privacy-preserved consensus, anchoring at scale. My problem with this is this. Once you put your DNA onto the XRP ledger, that's a permanent thing. It's there permanently. Even when you're gone, your DNA will still be sitting on the XRP ledger. And I really am not a fan of this. I don't like the idea of this. You know, everything that you do should be something that if it doesn't play out the way you like it playing out, you should be able to reverse it. And there's no reversing this. That's one of my biggest problems with it. Why institutions are flocking to Flare Network for their digital asset treasury strategies. And Flare is also going to gain a lot of adoption because of this right here. Take a listen to Hugo Filion.
We are seeing some of these DAT companies, digital asset treasury companies out there, obviously Vivo being one of them, but you guys are doing something specific around yield generation. Can you talk about that?
So one of the most important aspects of a DAT company is you want to be able to grow your stake in the network. Let's say in this instance, it's XRP. You don't want to have to keep raising money in order to increase your position. You know, you raise money when your equity value is higher than your net asset value. There's lots of routes to do it, but largely a lot of people have done offerings when their equity value is higher than their net asset value. But an alternative way to do it is if you have an asset that yields, you can convert that yield back into the currency of your choice. You know, if you've got XRP and you can derive, let's say, 8%, then your treasury, your balance is increasing at 8% per year, which is a very good way to do it.
So all these treasury companies that are creating XRP treasuries, they could then go and utilize Flare to earn yield off of that XRP and then put that yield back into the company is what he's talking about. And this is going to bring more adoption for XRP because these institutions, they're going to want to earn off of that XRP. So as long as they're earning off of it, guess what they're not doing? Selling it. That means it becomes a long-term hold. And as more and more companies do this, it's less XRP that's out there in the supply. Eventually, we see scarcity because of this. And that's what I like about Flare. It's opening up options for institutions, and it's also opening up options for XRP holders at the same time. And for a decade, this guy played dumb and acted like he just didn't understand XRP. Now he aggressively attacks XRP. Same with Caitlin Long. What changed? Why now? Just as we approached a level regulatory playing field, just as Bitcoin regulatory monopoly is about to end, XRP was contained by regulatory capture, so they didn't need to attack it until now. The fear is real. Take a listen to this.
Pushing for the adoption of digital technology.
That we can agree on.
You know, not going down the path of a surveillance state, CBDC, and, you know, wanting a decentralized future. Now, some would argue, yeah, but they're allowing things like XRP to have hope that they're going to be involved. They're probably not going to be involved. And they can allow, you know, the other, you know, shit coins, you know, and why does Trump have it have a family coin? And why do they get to do this public company and this new token? Look, the Emollients Clause is not as enforced as it once was. And look, greedy people are going to do greedy stuff.
So he thinks greedy people are going to do greedy stuff. I don't care what Trump is doing with his coins or whatever. You have the right to invest into them if you want to do it. But he's totally wrong about XRP. He knows that XRP is about to get integrated into the financial system. They all know it's coming. And when that happens, it takes away and makes Bitcoin even more irrelevant. All of a sudden, their precious Bitcoin starts taking its rightful place at the back of the line, and XRP moves into the forefront. But it's true, they didn't care. They even talked highly about XRP before we got a level playing field. Now that we have a level playing field, all of a sudden they have to hate on XRP as much as they can. They need to keep the hype going for Bitcoin. Unpopular opinion: gold has utility outside of being a store of value in various industries and in jewelry. So digital gold should have utility outside of just being a store of value in order to be called digital gold. So if Bitcoin's digital gold, what's its utility outside of being a store of value? Nothing. And then there's gold. Actual physical gold is used in electronics, dentistry, and aerospace. It has so many other use cases. So now when you start talking about tokenized gold, and even if XRP doesn't get backed by gold, which I don't think is going to happen, it's going to be moving the value of gold. So what is digital gold's utility outside of being a store of value? Well, it could be used for collateral, in much different ways in the digital form. Also, it opens up for more investors to invest into gold, because now they could just buy the tokens associated with the actual gold. They don't even have to hold the physical gold anymore. But digital gold is coming no matter how you look at this, because they're going to tokenize it and they're going to back up currencies with it. And when they do that, XRP will eventually be moving all of those currencies all around the world. A gold-backed digital dollar is coming. A lot of people would deny it. You know why most people deny it? Because it goes against the narrative. If they were to back the digital dollar with gold, that makes Bitcoin more irrelevant. You see where this is going. So on the mainstream media news, how are they going to sell Bitcoin as digital gold when we have a digitally gold-backed digital dollar? You can't keep that narrative going forever. Even as a store of value, Bitcoin sucks. If there's a crisis, it's dumping out. If the president talks about tariffs, it's dumping out. Bitcoin likes peace and tranquility. It doesn't like conflict or anything that is a possible threat to Bitcoin's narratives, is what I'm saying. I hope I got that point right. But when it all comes down, what it comes down to is this. We're going to see digital gold. Everything's going to become a digital token, real estate, everything. But something has to move it. XRP is the bridge that will move all of these tokenized assets. And that's what's great about being an XRP investor. It moves anything of value. And until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.